Incredible. 438 runs in a T20 match and just 18 at the end of the day separate both teams. Delhi Capitals have ensured that Kolkata Knight Riders don't pull off an improbable heist, not an impossible one, as we established on Whirlpool Presents ESPN Cricket for T20 time out powered by Dell on our innings break show. But we were treated to some serious hitting by first Prithvi Shaw and Shreyas Iyer, and then by Nitish Rana, Owen Morgan, and Rahul Tripathi should make for a compelling full-time conversation. Let's get Gautam Gambhir and Sanjay Manjrekar to look back at it. Sanjay probably just has a smile as he's already told us myths and tales about Sharjah being a bowler's graveyard, and it continues to do so no matter who graces it, even if it is Kagiso Rabada, one of the best in the world. Sanjay.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I have, of course, no loyalty with any team, but I was in the end glad that 228 was at least enough to win the game. Had, the run chase been successful, I would have felt, where is this game going? Because when we used to play, it used to be a game of bat and ball. And here it seems like it's just the bat talking. So once you get over 10 runs and over, and if the team chasing does it once again, and we've seen it already once, I would have been a little disenchanted in this post-match show. But, I'm one for logic. There was some scintillating batting in the first innings. And for that batting to get overshadowed and the chasing team winning that would have been a bit hard to take. In the end, another typical Sharjah game, you would say.
Yes, absolutely. Before we get into point-by-point reviews of this game, Gautam Gambhir said at halftime that you're not sure even if this is enough, even though it was the highest score in the tournament so far. And you could see his point right up until the 19th over of the chase. Was that the over that eventually decided it, Gautam, after so much ebb and flow in this 2020 game? Was that Amrik Nokia over in the 19th finally the deciding factor?
Yeah, looks like. But then again, the batting order, there has to be question marks on the batting order. Why not Morgan before Dinesh Karthik?
Yeah.
Because the kind of form Morgan was in, and we kept talking about the best batters should be batting up the order, especially at Sharjah. Yes, that was the right decision to send Andrew Russell. It didn't come off, that's fine. But then at least the decision was right. Then why not Morgan after him? Dinesh Karthik doesn't look in any good form, to be honest. And then had probably Morgan been there before Dinesh Karthik, things could have been different because probably they left too much for Morgan and Rahul Tripathi to do.
I guess you
can I make a quick point, Ronak, on this particular issue about, now if you just imagine a conversation between, say, Dinesh Karthik and Owen Morgan, as captain. So he's saying, you're in tremendous form. You've got a couple of innings going. You're, a left-hand batsman who plays only T20 cricket. You're a T20 specialist. I'm out of form. I'm not playing too well in recent time. My confidence is down, but I'm going in before you because I'm a right-hander. This logic has to really stop, and just sheer common sense has to come into play. Had Morgan come in a little earlier, who knows where this game would have headed, the kind of form that he was in.
And another thing, Ronak, another massive mistake or probably a blunder, Rahul Tripathi after Pat Cummins, who took that decision, to be honest. It was a ridiculous decision. And whoever took that should be made accountable. You've made a player play, you made a batter play in this game, and then you've got more trust on Pat Cummins as compared to Rahul Tripathi, who literally won them the game. First, the biggest blunder was that Morgan not before Dinesh Karthik, yes, because he's the captain and he wants to lead from the front, but he got to realize this as well, that what kind of form you're in. You got to be more realistic than probably more emotional. And at the same time, Pat Cummins before Rahul Tripathi. What sense does that make?
Can I ask Gautam a question, Ronak, if you don't mind? Do you think KKR is a franchise, Gautam, that wouldn't be able to tell somebody like Dinesh Karthik, who is the captain, who wants to, show that he still wants to lead from the front despite not being in the best of form? Is it a franchise that can say, that's fine, Dinesh, but I think it makes a lot of sense for Morgan to go ahead, or they'll respect Dinesh Karthik just because he's the captain and take care of his feelings and his stature in the team? Would that come into play?
No, it's up to the captain as well. Is your captaincy more important or the team more important? And plus, it is Brendan McCullum's job, not the owner's job. It is up to Brendan McCullum, and that's what he's paid there for, to take those hard calls. And at the same time, as a leader, There are times I still remember in 2014 when I started off really badly. I was the one who walked up to Trevor Bayliss and I said that don't deserve to be part of this team. Rather drop me and play someone else who could contribute. And then the first thing he told me was that you've given other people so many opportunities. Why don't you give yourself the same amount of opportunities? But I felt that as a leader, you got to be more practical than emotional. And then probably Dinesh Karthik needs to realize that who's in better form than him. Yes, obviously he
Mhm.
plays a lot of T20 cricket. He can finish off games. That's fine. But at the moment, I think coming before Ian Morgan and then not taking that own decision that he should be promoting Rahul Tripathi before Pat Cummins was a blunder.
What I want to ask though on this same topic, which is very interesting, it's always intrigued me as to where the power lies or where the decision making is finally where the buck stops there. And when you have a Brendan McCullum and you have a Dinesh Karthik, you've got captain and coach. Let's say they're at odds, Gautam, on who should go out in the batting order. Who finally decides this?
Captain decides it. No doubt about it. Captain is the one who leads the team. Yes, there is a support staff there. There are people who are there to support you. But ultimately, whether good or bad, ugly, wrong decisions, if the right decisions are made, obviously the praise goes to the captain. Then you should have the courage to take the bad decision in the stride as well. So if you made a blunder, put your hand up and say, "Yes, I've made a mistake," which unfortunately do not happen many times because we keep passing on the buck to someone or the other.
What we have seen, Sanjay, though, it is
Mm.
just a view from the outside that there are certain franchises where you do get the impression you know who the alpha in that squad is and who's taking those calls. I get Gautam's point entirely. I do not see Dhoni getting overruled at CSK. If
Yeah.
you look at Shreyas Iyer and Ricky Ponting, and you've made that observation too. So when it comes to a Brendan McCullum and a Dinesh Karthik, such a crucial decision. After Andre Russell is out, does DK go in to play alongside Nitish Rana or does Owen Morgan go in? Where do you think this decision's actually been made?
I think it's the captain who's been left to take those decisions. Sometimes I feel, the coach is better placed to take a decision that benefits the team. Very often, the captain being a player himself, and especially when he's insecure, slightly out of form, there is a tendency for the captain to take decisions that will suit him. For example, a captain out of form batting at the top of the order, you win the toss on a lively pitch and you don't want to bat first, and those kind of things, come into play. And also the nature of people, the career that I had for India, generally the captains have been the bosses, but there was one period when Ajit Wadekar was the coach of the Indian team, and that is when the dynamics changed and we immediately knew actually who the boss was. Wadekar was the man calling the shots. Yes, a lot of decisions on the field were taken by Azharuddin, but Wadekar was the boss man. With CSK, it's easy to see who the boss man is. In this scenario, I think it makes for good sense to have somebody like a Brendan McCullum, taking some important calls, especially when Dinesh Karthik is one of the persons involved. Because at this stage, he needs support from outside. He needs somebody who's thinking about the team, thinking clinical, and as Gautam said, not being too emotional. So maybe Dinesh Karthik is not the right guy to take these kind of calls. With Ricky Ponting and Shreyas Iyer, it's very clear. From the outside, you can see some bowling changes being made. So it's different for every team. But in the game, in the sport, it's always been the captain who's been the boss man.
The other thing that we'll discuss now as we close this chat is with Rahul Tripathi getting runs, you surely want to play him next game. But with you having already dropped a bowler, do you again drop another bowler and make sure you just have those five options? Because the only other Indian batsman, Gautam, that you can drop on form is actually Dinesh Karthik.
That's a tough call. I reckon they should go with the same team. And Andrew
Mhm.
Russell as sixth bowler. And plus, if Nitish Rana can chip in with 1 or 2 overs, that's and probably make Rahul Tripathi bat up the order if Sunil Narayan looks in absolutely no form. And
Yeah.
plus,
Yeah.
no one's going to spin to Sunil Narayan, so he's better off. Actually, he's better off batting at number 9 or 10, and
Yeah.
that will just help his bowling because sometimes what happens is when you're actually opening the batting consistently, you're focusing more on your batting. You're focusing more on how to get those quick runs in the first 6 overs rather than on your bowling. So someone needs to go to Sunil Narayan and tell him. And I've said it even on this show before that as well. It's his job is to just go and bowl 4 overs and get wickets. Whatever he
Yeah.
gets as a batter, that's a bonus. But now probably it's time for him to come down and just concentrate on his bowling and give those 4 important overs and take some wickets because that's what KKR needs from Sunil Narayan, not the runs.
Excellent
All right.
point. I just want to add one more thing to it.
Sure.
He's right about somebody who starts batting. We had the case of Irfan Pathan. as a bowler who started batting up the order. There was talk about him being, an all-rounder. His bowling suffered. Maybe that wasn't the only reason. The other thing that I want to talk about KKR is they've got three very raw bowlers. They've picked young, fast bowlers on speed and talent. But in an IPL setting, in a pressure cooker situation, are these the bowlers who will deliver? On the big night, bowl under pressure, the Yorkers and the variations that's needed to keep quality batsmen down. So, the bowling is always going to be a worry for me if I'm looking at three raw bowlers in a group of six bowlers. So that's one thing. The other thing that we've got to touch upon, Ronak, is the kind of bowling that we saw from Delhi as well. Pretty disappointing when he saw Rabada trying to get a Yorker and he wasn't able to actually nail it but kept going with the Yorker. The amount of full tosses that was seen in the attempt to bowl a Yorker. So I think the great lesson learned today is if you're not getting your Yorker right, best not to give anything in that half of the pitch because they kept trying the Yorker because they thought, that's the ball to bowl. But in the process, I mean, the amount of runs that were conceded in trying to attempt to Yorker and getting it right was, it almost lost them the game. Eventually, there was one that Stoinis got to Tripathi, but that came, Nokia. I think Nokia got one to Tripathi. But yeah, the bowling wasn't good at all from Delhi. So that's a matter of concern.
Please, Gautam.
Again, I've captained Sunil Narine for a very long time. I think he's someone you need to put your arm around him because there are days when he's had some very bad days, but you got to show trust on Sunil Narine. So now it's the job of Dinesh Karthik, who himself feels a little insecure because with the kind of form he's in. At the same time, he needs to give that confidence to Sunil Narine as well. There are times you might just have to bowl him out before the 13th or the 14th over to get his confidence back. It's not that you will only bowl him 2 overs and then just take him off. That's not going to give him any more confidence. It's not going to make him better in the next game as well. So try and, because he's that kind of a character. He doesn't talk too much. He stays inside his own shell. So now it's actual challenge for someone like Dinesh Karthik to pick himself up and Sunil Narine as well.
All right, since we did touch upon, Sanjay touched upon the bowling for the Delhi Capitals, a rare off day for Kagiso Rabada. What I do want to ask both of you is, what did Andre Nokia do differently? He seemed to be the standout bowler. Only Andre Russell was more economical than him on the night, and it did turn in his over eventually. So what did Nokia do right today? Gautam, you can take this first. Sanjay, after that, you can have a go as well. What did he do right that Rabada didn't?
Just backed his natural length.
Yeah.
Didn't go for Walker, just back that length. And even if the one which he got Morgan out with, it was just his normal length delivery. So if that's what we keep talking about, if in doubt, bowl your best delivery, irrespective of what the batter's strength is, and that's what Nokia did. And I absolutely agree with Sanjay that Kagiso Rabada kept going for Yorker and just couldn't deliver it. And Nokia didn't even look to bowl that Yorker, looked to back himself, looked to bowl the best delivery he could, and eventually won Delhi the game.
Sanjay?
See, Ronak, the important thing is to bowl to your strength. Very early in the innings, you saw Ravichandran Ashwin bowl, and Gautam as well. You would have watched it. The couple of overs that he bowled at the start, you could see how the mind was going. He was thinking, I've got to protect 228. And suddenly, this was a different Ashwin from the one that we saw bowl that magnificent first over. It was beautiful guile and bowling in the stumps. He got two batsmen out, unfortunately got injured. But because 228 runs were on the board, suddenly you see Ashwin bowling all kinds of stuff. In one over, you already had the stop and deliver ball. There was the round arm ball that he bowled, and different angle, different bowling action. So he was bowling immediately right at the start to protect 228. I think Delhi should be looking at their bowling. Amit Mishra was the only guy, kept it simple, kept it classical. Unfortunately, could not complete his quota of overs. But the others were really trying too hard. Rabada should realize if he can't get his Yorker, better off going short because he can do that as well. So Nokia kept it simple, and he was one of the guys who succeeded. Stoinis as well. Can't get the Yorker, don't try. It's a difficult ball. And that's the problem. If people wonder why not too many Yorkers are bowled, if you don't get it right, you go for a lot of runs. And that is why not too many people bowl the Yorkers. The only one who has bowled a Yorker with some control is the other day from SRH. We saw Natarajan nailing the Yorkers. Not too many guys are doing it. So might as well give it up and just try and use the pitch as much as possible. Harshal Patel, by the way, was pretty useful as well today. So credit to him.
All right, we've had a cracker of a game in Sharjah, and it gets about a few hours of rest before Mumbai and Sunrisers take the field in an afternoon game tomorrow. As we round up this game, I'd like to do that quick 5 point review that I hope you're enjoying on ESPN Cricinfo in the aftermath of all these games. So, Sanjay, Gautam, 5 statements coming your way. I'd like you to rapidly and with a lot of fire, which is natural for the both of you, to just respond to those statements. Yes, let's start with Anrik Nokia's brilliance. Sanjay.
Kept it straight, as Gautam said, kept stuck to his natural strength. And I love these bowlers who bowl the narrow corridor. They run in straight and just keep it straight and use the pitch more than trying to be ambitious and trying to get the Yorker in.
Gautam?
Absolutely have to agree with Sanjay. Uh, just backed his strength and bowl with pace and both straight. That's very important and use the natural variation of the wicket.
Okay, Gautam, you can take the next one. Shreyas Iyer leading the charge from the Delhi Capitals with the bat.
Absolutely brilliant today. And that showed that we keep talking about that how he plays spin, but today he actually showed that he can actually dominate fast bowling as well.
Sanjay?
I think this is his best IPL innings. And like Gautam said, I personally felt that he was more of an aggressive big hitter against spinners, not as much against fast bowlers. I think today's innings will give him that confidence that he can hit both spinners and pace alike. And there was some tremendous shots that he played. It was a high quality innings and he was belligerent against spin and pace.
Brilliant. Let's go to the next one. Sanjay, you can take this. KKR's batting order.
Sunil Narayan, Gautam makes a good point about getting Sunil Narayan to go back to what he is really, a bowler. So forget about the batting. I think Tripathi has always shown that he's got a bit of a spunk in his batting. He's got some attitude. Let's see how he does at the top of the order. He's done that before for an IPL team. So maybe he goes at the top of the order. Morgan bats 4. I'd like Russell at 5 and Rana at 3. Rana is impressive. But Dinesh Karthik, not before Russell, not before Morgan, please.
Gautam, how big a factor was KKR's batting order?
Exactly the same. What just Sanjay mentioned, that Rahul Tripathi goes up the order. Dinesh Karthik plays at number 6, not before Morgan or not before Russell as well. And probably Sunil Narayan goes at bat at numbers 8 or 9, wherever they feel it's right.
Just a quick follow-up on this one. Could there be a theory that you want to split Morgan and Russell in the batting lineup and have them, not go too quickly after each other, Gautam?
Oh, it depends. Depends what you're chasing. But I still would feel that if Morgan bats at 4 and Russell bats at 5, that's the right number for both of them, and Dinesh Karthik to follow. That's probably the best batting lineup, and then with Pat Cummins and the rest of the guys to follow.
All right. What about the effort from Morgan and Tripathi? They almost pulled off a heist. Gautam?
Oh, absolutely brilliant, and it's never finished till the time it's finished, and that's what we've seen in Sharjah. But then again, I think these were too many runs. Probably there were 20, 25 runs more than what probably KKR was expecting, and those 20, 25 runs were too much, especially on a ground like Sharjah. But again, I think the match of it, again, it was just the brilliance of Nokia just backing himself, which actually changed the entire fortunes of the game.
Sanjay, you picked Morgan as a big player for the season. He looks like he's finding his mojo.
Yes, yeah, he has to have a sensational season for KKR to become serious contenders for the playoff. But I'm seeing too many fantastic innings at Sharjah. So whether, to give complete credit to the batsman or the conditions, I don't know. But, that was a great resurgence that we saw from KKR because they looked out of sorts when they lost Karthik, they lost Russell. So in the end, thanks to, Tripathi and Morgan, we saw some good, interesting sort of last few overs. Although the bowling wasn't great, another good game to remember.
And finally, Dinesh Karthik's use of his bowlers. Sanjay?
Oh God, I now have to go back and wonder how he used his bowlers.
Varun Chakravarti
So
with
it was
19.
actually very interesting that Sunil Narayan just bowled the 2 overs because that is something that very rarely happens. Varun Chakravarti out-bowled him, bowled the last few overs as well. So he went by pure form on that particular night, and I don't grudge it too much. But I think going forward, maybe, as Gautam had said earlier as well, rely on the guys who've got the track record. But I worry about a team that has 3 raw bowlers out of 5, with 2 talented young fast bowlers and 1 talented leg spinner, but they are just a bit too raw for me on, when the big stage comes in the IPL.
Gautam, Dinesh Karthik's use of his bowlers, first innings, big factor?
Yeah, your best bowlers needs to be bowling the 18th, 19th, and the 20th over, and unfortunately that didn't happen today. Pat Cummins, Sunil Narine, if this winner has to bowl, and even you got to back young Mavi as well. He's done a fabulous job in the previous games. So did Andrew Russell. So you got to give it to your best bowlers. Yes, Varun Chakravarti did bowl well in the first 3 overs, but then you can't expect a young spinner to be bowling the 19th over, and that also at Sharjah. So probably it was miscalculated.
Gautam Gambhir, Sanjay Manjrekar, that is a wrap of a very long day. But gee, it's been fun. I think that first game really was a bit of a climax. We wanted a real close one, and then Sharjah lived up to its reputation. Both of you have earned a good night's
Ronak,
sleep.
are you trying to say that Virat Kohli coming back into a form and playing such a glorious innings was a bit of an anticlimax for you in
I
the
tell you what,
afternoon game?
these firebrand statements are better from the two of you. Why are you putting me? I am nobody. I have those few CSK fans that come after me every year. Let me have my thing with them. You keep the rest. Thank you very much, Gautam
Thank
Gambhir, and
you.
always a pleasure,
Pleasure.
Sanjay Manjrekar. And we will
Good night
get
to you.
with Sanjay soon again on Whirlpool Presents ESPN Cricket for T20 Timeout powered by Dell. Cracking day, the first double-header in this year's tournament. And do join us tomorrow, just before the start of the Mumbai Sunrisers game at 3 p.m. IST. See you then.
Thank you.